Today, we're diving into one of the most unsettling disappearances ever recorded in North Carolina, a case that began with an ordinary morning on the water and ended with a discovery no one could have imagined. For 7 long years, everyone believed that Anna Serene was a widow. Her husband Ved, quiet, dependable, a man of routine, vanished during what should have been a simple boating trip near Cape Lookout. His boat was found shattered and drifting. His body never recovered, and with no signs of foul play, the world simply assumed the sea had taken him. But Anna always said one thing: you don't get answers when a body is missing, you just get silence. Silence that followed her every day. Through every birthday, every holiday, every night she went to sleep alone. But that silence, the one she learned to live with, was torn apart the moment she walked into a Seattle shopping mall and saw a man she thought she buried years ago. A man holding a little girl's hand, a man with a new life, a new name, a new family, and that man was her husband. Anna Serene remembered the last morning she saw Ved the way people remember the final seconds before a store. Everything too quiet, too still, too full of things left unsaid. It was June 14th, 7 years ago, the kind of North Carolina dawn that painted the sky soft orange. Ved was already awake when she came downstairs. He stood at the kitchen counter, backpack halves, yipped, eyes distant, like he was rehearsing a conversation in his head. "You're leaving early," she said, trying to sound casual. "Low tide." He answered without looking up, "Good for the boat." But Anna noticed the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers tapped the counter. She sensed something wrong, something deeper than the usual tiredness their marriage had settled into. The argument started small, like all dangerous arguments do. "You didn't come home last night," she said. "I told you I stayed at the office, late deadline. You turned your phone off." He froze just for a second, a flicker, a tiny crack in his calm, then he exhaled sharply, "Anna, not this again. Not this again." Those were the last real words they exchanged. By the time the sun was fully up, Ved had driven to Cape Lookout for what he called a few peaceful hours on the water. He kissed her cheek lightly, distant, distracted, and promised to be home by lunch. He never returned. When the call came that a boat matching his registration had been recovered shattered against the rocks, Anna felt something inside her collapse in slow motion. She drove to the docks numb, her hands cold despite the heat. The Coast Guard officers spoke gently, their voices carefully measured. Strong current, severe impact on the hull, no body recovered. Sometimes, the officer said quietly, the sea doesn't give people back. The empty funeral was a blur. A closed coffin filled with flowers instead of a man. People cried, hugged her, whispered how tragic it all was, but none of them had seen the boat. None of them had seen the photographs, splintered fiberglass, a missing GPS console, drag marks on the sand that looked strange. Ved's disappearance became a story the town repeated for months, then years, until it softened into a tragic memory. Anna learned to live with the silence he left behind. Silence in their bedroom, silence at the dinner table, silence where love had once lived. But silence is a funny thing. It doesn't stay silent forever. 7 years later, on a cold November evening, Anna walked into a Seattle shopping mall. The kind filled with holiday lights, children laughing, couples carrying too many bags. And for the first time in a long time, she felt almost normal. Until she saw him. At first, she thought her mind was playing a cruel trick. A face overlapping with memory. A stranger who merely resembled her dead husband, but he turned, and the world stopped moving. It was Ved, alive, breathing, walking, holding the hand of a little girl with curly hair and tiny pink shoes. Anna's breath caught in her throat, her fingers shook. Her heart thrashed against her ribs. He looked older, shorter hair, trimmed beard, different clothes. But the gait, the shoulders, the voice when he leaned down to the child. It was him. She followed. Not because she planned to. Her legs simply moved, carrying her through the crowd like she was pulled by gravity. The woman beside him laughed softly and said, "Daniel, she wants ice cream." Daniel, Ved, her dead husband, turned and replied, "Sure, let's get her whatever she wants." Daniel, a new name, a new life, a new family. Anna froze, the name echoing inside her skull, reshaping the last 7 years in one shattering instant. And then he looked over his shoulder as if he sensed someone watching. Anna ducked behind a pillar. Heart pounding, realizing her nightmare was only just beginning. Anna pressed her back against the cold pillar, trying to steady her breath. Just a few feet away, Ved, no, Daniel, was laughing. Not the quiet, restrained laugh she remembered, but something warmer, freer. The woman beside him touched his arm as the little girl swung their hands playfully between them. A perfect family portrait, one she should never have been standing close enough to witness. Anna's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone. She zoomed in, focusing on his profile, the sharp jawline, the familiar scar above his eyebrow from a basketball injury during college. There was no mistake. This was not a doppelganger or a hallucination born from grief. Her husband, whom she buried in her mind years ago, was alive. She snapped photos, him lifting the child, adjusting her jacket, paying for ice cream. Then she switched to video, recording the way he spoke, the way he smiled, the way he looked without the weight he carried in their final months together. The phone shook violently in her grip. Her mind yanked her backward, dragging her into memories she tried to forget. Late-night phone calls he used to take on the porch, whispering as if he thought she wouldn't hear. Sudden business trips he never fully explained. The night she woke at 3 a.m. and found him standing in the dark living room, staring at the wall like he was contemplating running. And the withdrawals, small at first, $2, 100 here, $5, 100 there, but eventually ballooning into thousands. Whenever she questioned him, he dismissed her concerns with a tired sigh. "Anna, you worry too much." But she saw the signs. She just never connected them, not until now. Daniel Ved began walking toward the mall exit. Anna followed at a distance, careful, silent. When the sliding doors opened, they stepped into the soft drizzle outside. The little girl giggled as he lifted her into the car seat of a silver SUV. The woman kissed him before getting in. For a split second, Anna felt her entire reality tilt. He kissed her like he used to kiss Anna. Like it was nothing, the SUV pulled away. Anna stayed frozen on the sidewalk, drenched, breathless. She needed answers, not guesses, not theories. Actual answers, and there was only one person she knew who could get them. The private investigator's office was a dim corner unit above a local law firm, the hallway smelling faintly of burnt coffee and old carpet. A small plaque on the frosted glass door read, "Archer and Associates Discreet Investigations." Anna knocked. A rough voice responded, "Come in." Marcus Archer looked like he belonged in a black and white detective film, gray hair, worn leather jacket, eyes that had seen too much. He listened quietly as Anna explained everything, showing him the photos and videos she took. He didn't interrupt, didn't give her the "you're losing your mind" face she feared. He simply nodded, took notes, and asked for the mall location and approximate time. "Give me 2 hours," he said, rising from his chair with surprising agility. "Don't leave town and don't contact him." Anna waited in the office, her foot tapping uncontrollably. Rain streaked down the window, turning the city lights into blurred lines. She couldn't focus on anything except the image of Ved holding that little girl. So natural, so practiced. 2 hours stretched into something that felt closer to a lifetime. When the door finally creaked open, Marcus stepped inside, expression dark. He closed the door gently behind him. "Anna," he said, voice low. Her stomach twisted. Marcus laid a folder on the desk. A name printed on the cover, Daniel Hart. He met her eyes. Ved didn't just fake his death. He said slowly, he built an entire second life. Anna's pulse stopped, just long enough to know her nightmare was only deepening. Marcus slid the folder toward Anna as if it contained something radioactive. Her fingers hovered over it, afraid to touch, afraid not to. "Before you open it," he said, "you need to understand something. Men don't build fake identities overnight. This took planning, years of it." Anna's pulse thudded in her ears. "Show me." Marcus flipped the folder open himself, revealing a stack of documents. Printouts, screenshots, photocopies. Each one proof that her reality was dissolving piece by piece. "His new name is Daniel Hart." Marcus began, tapping the top sheet, but this identity existed before Ved's accident. 4 years before, to be exact. Anna's jaw clenched before he drowned. Marcus finished. He slid forward a marriage license. Anna's breath hitched. Marriage license, Daniel Hart and Emily Walker date. 4 years before the boat accident. Anna stared at the paper, the edges blurring. "That's impossible." Marcus didn't soften the blow. "It's real, county, certified, and his signature matches Ved's writing down to the slant." Her mind spun. 4 years before he died. He was already married, 4 years before he left her widowed. He had already created a new life. The betrayal wasn't sudden, it was an operation. Marcus handed her another sheet. A property record. A two-story home in suburban Seattle, purchased under Daniel Hart's name 5.5 years ago. Photos showed a neat lawn, a porch swing, children's chalk drawings on the driveway. He lived happily, openly, while she spent years sleeping beside an empty pillow. Her throat tightened. How could he do this? Marcus's expression softened just slightly. People capable of building double lives usually start with smaller lies. Testing boundaries. Did Ved ever disappear for days? Travel unexpectedly? Anna nodded slowly, memories crashing in like waves. Those sudden business trips he never fully explained. Those late nights at the office when he returned with no paperwork. The weekend he claimed he went fishing with co-workers. Yet none of them remembered going. Back then she doubted herself, thought she was paranoid. Now she saw the pattern clearly. Ved wasn't drifting away. He was transferring himself piece by piece into another world. Marcus pulled open a new tab on his laptop. I traced digital records tied to Daniel Hart. Email accounts, mailing subscriptions, utility bills, but the real story is in the financials. He turned the screen toward her. A labyrinth of transactions appear. Offshore transfers, wire payments to banks in the Cayman Islands, small deposits from unknown corporate entities, and a sudden life insurance policy issued in Anna's name, 6 months before his death. Anna's skin went cold. Life insurance, on me. Marcus nodded. $500,000 policy. He listed himself as the sole beneficiary. Her voice cracked. He wanted money if I died. That's not all. Marcus clicked another file. Your joint account with Ved. Did you ever notice major withdrawals? Anna frowned. Just small ones, nothing huge. Marcus slid a printed bank statement across the desk. Look again. At first, she didn't understand. Then her eyes caught the numbers. Slow, consistent withdrawals. $3,000 here. $4,500 there over the course of nearly a year. Spread out just enough not to trigger bank alerts. Total removed. $280,000. Anna blinked, disbelief flooding her. No, that can't be right. That money was for our house renovation. For our future. It was for his future. Marcus said quietly, his new life. The room tilted. Anna gripped the edge of the desk, trying to steady herself. He drained me, she whispered. He drained everything. Marcus nodded grimly, and he didn't do it alone. The forged identification documents I found, multiple driver's licenses, passports under different names. They weren't amateur work. He had help. Anna felt the floor drop beneath her. Help from who? That's the next step, Marcus said. But for now, you need to see one more thing. He pulled out a final sheet, highlighted bank transfers, each marked with the same name. What is this? Anna murmured. A transfer trail, Marcus said. Every withdrawal from your account was funneled through the same offshore intermediary. He pointed to the bottom line. Beneficiary, D. Hart total received, $280,000. Anna felt the air leave her lungs. Ved didn't just leave her. He didn't just lie. He didn't just fake his death. He stole almost everything she had. Marcus closed the folder softly. Anna, this wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. Her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Because she knew this was only the beginning, and somewhere inside that darkness, a far deeper truth was waiting. The next morning, Marcus called Anna with a voice that sounded unusually cautious. Someone wants to talk to you, he said. Someone who should have spoken years ago. Before Anna could ask anything, Marcus added, he used to work with the Coast Guard, retired now, says he has information about Ved's boat. Anna's chest tightened. Information? Like what? Not over the phone, Marcus replied. Meet us at the marina. The ride to Cape Lookout felt surreal. The same stretch of coastline where Anna once cried for answers now looked colder, sharper. The waves hit the rocks with rhythmic violence, as if trying to confess secrets no one wanted to hear. Marcus waited near the old dock office, hands buried in his jacket pockets. Beside him stood a thin older man with wind-burned skin, white hair, and eyes that darted around like he carried too much memory. Anna, this is Howard Keene, Marcus said, 30, 2 years in Coast Guard maintenance and recovery. Howard nodded politely. Ma'am. Anna managed a stiff greeting. Marcus said you knew something about Ved's accident. Howard's jaw clenched. He motioned toward a bench facing the water. "Sit. This isn't a short story." They sat. Howard inhaled deeply, like he'd waited years to let the truth out. "I was the one assigned to inspect your husband's boat the day they found it," he began. "Back then, we were told it was a simple wreck. Weather, tide, maybe operator error, but something about it." He shook his head. Something wasn't right. Anna leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Howard looked at her with steady, regretful eyes. "The damage didn't match the conditions. Not even close." Marcus frowned. "Explain." Howard looked out toward the horizon, speaking slowly. "The boat was too cleanly fractured. Impact sites were symmetrical, mechanical, not natural, and the GPS console wasn't destroyed. It was removed, cleanly, like someone unscrewed it, wiped it, then tossed fake debris into the water." Anna felt the blood drain from her face. "Removed, but the report was rushed." Howard said bitterly, "We were understaffed. The higher-ups were convinced it was a drowning. No reason to look further." Marcus crossed his arms. "You told them your concerns. Told them twice." Howard said, "They ignored me both times. Eventually, I let it go." Guilt flickered in his voice. Anna's hands curled into fists. "So you're saying his death wasn't an accident?" "I'm saying," Howard replied, "that boat didn't sink by mistake. It was staged." The words hung in the air like a chilling confession. Howard stood up. "There's something else." He motioned for them to follow him into the maintenance shed near the docks. The place smelled of old engine oil and seawater. He pulled a rusted metal locker open, retrieving a sealed evidence bag containing photographs, pictures Anna had never seen. "These are from the original inspection," Howard explained. "I wasn't supposed to keep them, but something felt wrong." Marcus spread the photos across a workbench. Anna gasped softly. There were clean tool marks around the areas that appeared broken. Scrape patterns suggesting deliberate prying, not impact. A section of the hull cut in a straight line, too precise for ocean damage. "And here," Howard said, pointing at one photo, "is where the GPS should have been. Notice the indentation. That's no accident. Someone removed it." Anna stared at the empty space where truth should have been. "This means he planned it," she whispered. "Months, maybe years." Howard nodded. "Your husband knew boats. He knew tides. If he wanted to disappear without a trace, this is how you'd do it." Anna pressed a hand to her mouth, emotions surging. Anger, grief, betrayal collapsing into each other. Marcus exhaled slowly. "You said there was more." Howard hesitated, then walked to a locked drawer. He opened it with a key he kept tied around his neck. From inside, he pulled out a small flash drive sealed in plastic. 7 years ago, Howard said, "I recovered something from the boat's internal system. Not much, just fragments. The official team wiped the rest, but before they did, I copied what I could." Anna stared at the tiny drive as if it were a lit fuse. "You copied the GPS logs?" Marcus asked. "Not all of them," Howard admitted. "Most were deleted before the boat was found, but a few pieces remained. Coordinates, timestamps, and something else I couldn't decode." Anna's breath hitched. "Why didn't you give this to someone?" Howard's eyes softened. "Because no one would have listened, and because I wasn't sure what I found. Until now." He stepped closer and placed the USB in Anna's shaking hand. "You need to see what was deleted," he said quietly. "Whatever Ved erased. It wasn't by accident." Anna closed her fingers around the drive, knowing this was the key, the moment where the truth finally began to surface. Because whatever that GPS contained, it could unravel everything that came next. The USB felt heavier than metal, like a fragment of truth Anna wasn't sure she was ready to face. After leaving the retired Coast Guard tech's workshop, she sat in her car for several minutes, gripping the steering wheel and breathing through the tremors in her chest. The city lights of Seattle blurred through her windshield, but her mind was locked on one image. Ved. No, Daniel. Laughing in that mall, alive, whole, and living a life she was never meant to witness. The transition from shock to anger had been slow at first, but now it swelled inside her like a tide ready to break. She needed answers, and the USB was the next step toward them. At home, Anna plugged the drive into her laptop. A folder popped open instantly, labeled only GPS Redeem. Inside were several encrypted files and a single video snippet. Her heartbeat stumbled. She clicked on the video first. The retired tech's voice crackled through the speakers. "Recovered what I could. Your husband wasn't where he claimed to be, and he sure as hell didn't sink where the report says." Anna swallowed hard, then opened the first decrypted file, a GPS coordinate log. It displayed a path she knew too well. The boat had left the harbor at 1:04 a.m., just like the official report stated. But after that, the route diverged sharply from the timeline she had memorized from police statements. Instead of drifting toward the deep, water drop, off where they claimed the vessel shattered, the GPS showed something else intent. At 3:17 a.m., the boat changed course, not toward danger, not toward the storm, but toward a quiet private marina 50 miles south of Seattle. Anna zoomed in on the coordinates, and a marina name appeared, Lighthouse Cove. She had never been there, never even heard Ved mention it. But the GPS trail ended exactly at that dock. No signs of distress, no erratic steering, no sudden stop that indicated an accident. He had navigated directly into safety, into escape. She clicked the second file, security footage. A grainy, time-stamped recording came up. The camera captured a boat docking in the pre-dawn darkness. A hooded figure stepped out, moving with the unmistakable stiffness of someone who had rehearsed every motion. Anna's breath hitched painfully. Even hidden beneath the hood, the posture, the stride, the familiar turn of the shoulders. She recognized them. Ved. For 7 years she cried for this man, mourned him, buried him in her heart. And there he was, stepping off a boat as casually as if he were coming home from work. Then another figure entered the frame, a woman. She walked with confidence, wearing a jacket with the embroidered initials EH. She approached Ved and handed him keys to a parked truck. Anna paused the video, heart hammering. She zoomed in on the license plate. The tech had already done the work. An overlay popped up with a name, Emily Hart. Second wife. The note under her name read. Anna stared at the screen, unable to blink. It wasn't just betrayal. It was calculation, deception. A double life built on scorched earth and stolen money. The third file was a collection of cross-matched records, forged IDs, overlapping addresses, offshore accounts listed under shell, company aliases. His signature, Ved's actual signature, appeared again and again on falsified forms. And then the final blow. The tech had attached a small note at the bottom. He didn't run alone. Someone helped him disappear. Anna pushed her chair back, hands shaking. The room suddenly felt too small, too airtight, as if grief, betrayal, and truth were sucking the oxygen away. She had always wondered why the investigation was halted so quickly, why no one questioned the missing body, why the boat debris seemed too conveniently destroyed. Now she knew. Ved didn't vanish into the sea. He walked away from her life step by step, into someone else's. But this time, she wasn't the powerless one. She gathered the printouts, screenshots, and the USB. She placed them into a thick folder she had labeled Case File. Ved missing years ago. For the first time, the label finally felt accurate. Tomorrow, she would bring everything to the FBI: fraud, identity theft, insurance crimes, a staged death, and possibly more. She had enough evidence to tear apart the paper walls he'd built around himself. Anna packed the folder in her bag, her heartbeat steadying with purpose. For 7 years she had lived in the shadow of loss. Now she was ready to fight in the light of truth. She grabbed her coat, planning to head out to print final copies, but her phone vibrated on the table. A blocked number. Anna frowned and answered, "Nothing." Then her screen lit up with a single text message, "Stop." Her blood ran cold. Ved knew, and he was watching. After Ved's chilling one-word message, fear and fury twisted together inside her chest like a tightening coil. She double-checked every lock in the house, pulled the curtains shut, and sat awake at her kitchen table with the entire evidence file in front of her. Photos, screenshots, forged signatures, bank transfers, GPS logs, surveillance stills. By sunrise, she didn't hesitate. She walked into the Seattle FBI field office with her folder held like a shield. What followed moved faster than she expected. Within hours, agents whisked her into a secure interview room. They listened, they asked questions, they reviewed her files one by one. And when they reached the recovered GPS data, every trace of skepticism disappeared from their faces. By the time they saw the surveillance video of Ved stepping off the supposedly destroyed boat, their entire posture shifted from curiosity to readiness. Within 3 hours, a full-scale investigation was launched. Insurance fraud, identity theft, use of forged federal documents, interstate deception, wire fraud, international financial violations, bigamy, staging a death. Ved had committed enough federal crimes to bury himself for decades. Anna sat silently as more senior agents entered the room, took statements, and confirmed timelines. When she mentioned the anonymous text "stop," their expressions hardened even more. "Miss Anna." One agent said gently, "You did the right thing by coming in. You're safe here, and we'll make sure he can't reach you." For the first time in 7 years, she felt the weight shift off her shoulders. Not gone, but shared. That afternoon, the FBI executed a coordinated raid on Ved's current home in North Seattle, the house he shared with Emily Hart and their daughter. Anna wasn't allowed near the scene, but she received updates in real time. At 3:12 p.m., a team of 8 agents surrounded the property. At 3:14 p.m., the front door was breached. At 3:16 p.m., Ved was found in the living room with a laptop, a burner phone, and a half-packed suitcase. He didn't resist, he didn't shout, he didn't even look surprised. He simply raised his hands and smiled. At 3:19 p.m., he was in custody. At 3:22 p.m., the FBI called Anna. "We have him." A wave of relief hit her so powerfully that she had to sit down. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, Ved being found, exposed, punished. But she never thought it would feel like this. Not triumphant, just numb. But the real surprise came next. Emily Hart had been home. When the FBI agents stormed in, she had run out from the kitchen in panic, a towel still wrapped around her wet hair. According to the agent briefing Anna later, Emily looked confused at the sight of armed officers. "Daniel, what's happening?" She had cried using the name she believed was his. And when an agent stated the charges, bigamy, fraud, faked death, Emily went pale as ice. "No." She said, stumbling backward. "No, this has to be a mistake. He's my husband, he can't be married to someone else. He would have told me. He would never." But the agents had already shown her the documents, the marriage certificate to Anna, the insurance policy, the joint bank account from years ago. Emily sat down hard on the stairs, shaking violently, unable to understand the life she had been living. Later, as Ved was escorted into the federal vehicle, he was silent. Completely expressionless. He didn't ask for a lawyer. He didn't ask about Emily or their daughter. He only asked one question, spoken in a calm, steady voice. "Where is Anna?" The agents refused to answer, but Anna heard about it anyway, and it sent a cold ripple through her veins. Why did he want her? What else was buried under the years of lies? What unfinished thread tied him back to her? That night, Anna was moved to a temporary safe location until the case advanced. She sat in a small hotel room provided by the FBI, staring at the pattern on the blanket, willing her mind to quiet. But a knock on the door shattered the stillness. She froze. Then an agent's voice called from the hallway. "Miss Anna, you have a visitor asking for you. She's not a threat. We've checked." Anna opened the door and found herself staring into the red, swollen eyes of Emily Hart. Her hair was tied back messily, her clothes wrinkled, her hands clenched around a tissue. She looked nothing like the polished woman Anna had seen in the mall. She looked broken, lost, betrayed. "Anna," Emily whispered, almost choking on the name. "Please, I know you don't owe me anything, but I need to talk to you." Anna's stomach tightened. Part of her wanted to slam the door. Another part saw the same devastation she had once felt. The same pain of discovering everything you believed in was a lie. "What do you want?" Anna asked quietly. Emily swallowed hard. "I need to tell you something I found in Daniel's Ved's office today, something the FBI hasn't seen yet." Anna tensed. Emily lowered her voice to a trembling whisper. "Anna, I don't think we're the only women he married." The room spun. After Ved's chilling one-word message, fear and fury twisted together inside her chest like a tightening coil. She double-checked every lock in the house, pulled the curtains shut, and sat awake at her kitchen table with the entire evidence file in front of her. Photos, screenshots, forged signatures, bank transfers, GPS logs, surveillance stills. By sunrise, she didn't hesitate. She walked into the Seattle FBI field office with her folder held like a shield. What followed moved faster than she expected. Within hours, agents whisked her into a secure interview room. They listened, they asked questions, they reviewed her files one by one. And when they reached the recovered GPS data, every trace of skepticism disappeared from their faces. By the time they saw the surveillance video of Ved stepping off the supposedly destroyed boat, their entire posture shifted from curiosity to readiness. Within 3 hours, a full-scale investigation was launched. Insurance fraud, identity theft, use of forged federal documents, interstate deception, wire fraud, international financial violations, bigamy, staging a death. Ved had committed enough federal crimes to bury himself for decades. Anna sat silently as more senior agents entered the room, took statements, and confirmed timelines. When she mentioned the anonymous text "stop," their expressions hardened even more. "Miss Anna." One agent said gently, "You did the right thing by coming in. You're safe here, and we'll make sure he can't reach you." For the first time in 7 years, she felt the weight shift off her shoulders. Not gone, but shared. That afternoon, the FBI executed a coordinated raid on Ved's current home in North Seattle, the house he shared with Emily Hart and their daughter. Anna wasn't allowed near the scene, but she received updates in real time. At 3:12 p.m., a team of 8 agents surrounded the property. At 3:14 p.m., the front door was breached. At 3:16 p.m., Ved was found in the living room with a laptop, a burner phone, and a half-packed suitcase. He didn't resist, he didn't shout, he didn't even look surprised. He simply raised his hands and smiled. At 3:19 p.m., he was in custody. At 3:22 p.m., the FBI called Anna. "We have him." A wave of relief hit her so powerfully that she had to sit down. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, Ved being found, exposed, punished. But she never thought it would feel like this. Not triumphant, just numb. But the real surprise came next. Emily Hart had been home. When the FBI agents stormed in, she had run out from the kitchen in panic, a towel still wrapped around her wet hair. According to the agent briefing Anna later, Emily looked confused at the sight of armed officers. "Daniel, what's happening?" She had cried using the name she believed was his. And when an agent stated the charges, bigamy, fraud, faked death, Emily went pale as ice. "No," she said, stumbling backward. "No, this has to be a mistake. He's my husband. He can't be married to someone else. He would have told me. He would never." But the agents had already shown her the documents, the marriage certificate to Anna, the insurance policy, the joint bank account from years ago. Emily sat down hard on the stairs, shaking violently, unable to understand the life she had been living. Later, as Ved was escorted into the federal vehicle, he was silent. Completely expressionless. He didn't ask for a lawyer. He didn't ask about Emily or their daughter. He only asked one question, spoken in a calm, steady voice. "Where is Anna?" The agents refused to answer, but Anna heard about it anyway, and it sent a cold ripple through her veins. Why did he want her? What else was buried under the years of lies? What unfinished thread tied him back to her? That night, Anna was moved to a temporary safe location until the case advanced. She sat in a small hotel room provided by the FBI, staring at the pattern on the blanket, willing her mind to quiet. But a knock on the door shattered the stillness. She froze. Then an agent's voice called from the hallway. "Miss Anna, you have a visitor asking for you. She's not a threat. We've checked." Anna opened the door and found herself staring into the red, swollen eyes of Emily Hart. Her hair was tied back messily, her clothes wrinkled, her hands clenched around a tissue. She looked nothing like the polished woman Anna had seen in the mall. She looked broken, lost, betrayed. "Anna," Emily whispered, almost choking on the name. "Please, I know you don't owe me anything, but I need to talk to you." Anna's stomach tightened. Part of her wanted to slam the door. Another part saw the same devastation she had once felt. The same pain of discovering everything you believed in was a lie. "What do you want?" Anna asked quietly. Emily swallowed hard. "I need to tell you something I found in Daniel's Ved's office today, something the FBI hasn't seen yet." Anna tensed. Emily lowered her voice to a trembling whisper. "Anna, I don't think we're the only women he married." The room spun. The courtroom was colder than Anna expected. Maybe it was the air conditioning, or maybe it was the weight of 7 years of deception pressing against her chest. but as she entered the federal courthouse, she felt an ache settle into her bones. The walls were beige, the floors polished until they reflected fragments of light. Clean, orderly, sterile. Nothing like the chaos her life had become. Emily was already seated on the opposite side of the gallery, her posture stiff, shoulders trembling whenever someone walked past her. The two women never exchanged words after their brief meeting. There was too much pain between them, too many unanswered questions. Now they sat separated by a physical aisle, but bound by the same betrayal. Then the courtroom doors opened. Ved was escorted inside. His hands were cuffed, his hair trimmed shorter than Anna remembered, his expression eerily composed, almost relaxed, as if this entire spectacle were a routine appointment. He didn't look at Emily, he didn't search for the daughter he had fathered under a false name, but he did scan the gallery, and when his eyes found Anna, he stopped. A slow, chilling smile formed. Anna's stomach turned, but she held his gaze, refusing to shrink, refusing to let him feel in control. The bailiff called the court to order and the trial began. The prosecution wasted no time. "Your Honor, this case is not about a tragic accident." The lead prosecutor began, pacing before the jury. "This is a case about a carefully orchestrated escape. A man who faked his death, defrauded insurance companies, manipulated multiple women, forged federal documents, and stole hundreds of thousands of dollars. He clicked a remote. A screen illuminated with the first piece of evidence. Exhibit 1. Recovered GPS logs from the defendant's boat. Anna leaned forward as the screen displayed the coordinates. Sharp, undeniable. The prosecutor pointed to a blinking red dot. "This is where Ved Patel claimed his boat sank, but the recovered data tells a different story." Another click. The blinking dot moved, away from the recorded crash site, toward a private marina. At 3:17 a.m., the defendant intentionally steered toward this marina, shut off the GPS beacon, and abandoned the vessel. Another click. Now grainy footage appeared. Night vision security video of a hooded man stepping off Ved's boat. That is the defendant, captured 63 minutes before the Coast Guard received the distress call he had pre-recorded. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Emily covered her mouth, tears streaming silently. Anna stared straight ahead, jaw tight. The next witnesses were brutal but necessary. A coworker from Ved's old software job testified that Ved had been secretive and distracted in the months leading up to his disappearance. A boat mechanic explained how the motor damage found in Ved's vessel was deliberately inflicted, not natural wear. A bank manager walked the court through the transfers, a total of $280,000 drained from the joint account Anna shared with Ved, siphoned slowly, hidden in offshore sub-accounts. Anna felt each number like another blade. Then came the digital forensics agent. He described the burner phones, the fake IDs, the falsified marriage license filed under the name Daniel Hart, dated 4 years before Ved's supposed drowning. Before Anna, before Emily even knew he existed. Then the agent dropped something even more disturbing. Ved Patel had nearly 20 digital identities stored on encrypted drives. Some were partially developed, others fully formed. We believe these were escape plans, multiple alternate lives he could slip into if needed. The jury whispered among themselves, horrified. Anna closed her eyes, breathing through the nausea. He didn't just want to leave her, he wanted a life he could shed like old skin, as many times as necessary. Near the end of the day, the prosecutor called one final witness, Ved's brother, Arjun. He walked slowly to the stand, shoulders hunched, face gray with shame. He couldn't look at Anna. He couldn't look at Ved. He kept his eyes fixed on the microphone in front of him. "Mr. Patel," the prosecutor began gently, "when did you last see your brother before the alleged accident?" Arjun swallowed hard. 2 days before. "And did he say anything unusual, behave strangely?" A pause. A deep breath. "Yes, he asked me if I believe people deserve second chances, even if they lied, even if they hurt others. And what did you say?" "I told him the truth always catches up." His voice broke. "I didn't know he meant he was going to disappear." Ved finally looked up, his expression hardening. For the first time all day, Anna saw something crack in his eyes. Anger, not regret, not guilt. Anger that his brother had spoken. With all witnesses heard, the prosecutor stepped forward for the final exhibit of the day. "Your Honor," he said, "before we adjourn, The state would like to submit one additional discovery. He lifted a thin manila folder. This file contains a detail found only during the financial audit completed last week. He opened it. Anna braced herself. Emily wiped her eyes, trying to focus. Ved leaned back, lips tightening. The prosecutor spoke clearly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we previously believed the defendant took out a single life insurance policy in Anna Patel's name. He placed 2 documents on the evidence screen. That was incorrect." He turned to the jury. "Ved Patel took out 2 life insurance policies, not 1. Gasps filled the courtroom. Anna felt the blood drain from her face. Beside her, Emily choked on a sob. 2 policies meant one thing: Ved hadn't just planned to disappear. He had planned for someone to die, and maybe it wasn't supposed to be him. The courtroom felt different the next morning, heavier, as if everyone sensed that something irreversible was coming. Anna took her seat quietly, hands clasped, eyes focused on the defense table where Ved sat, flanked by 2 federal attorneys who looked like they'd aged 10 years overnight. Emily sat across the aisle, face drawn, fingers twisting a tissue until it shredded into white threads. When the judge entered, the murmurs died instantly. "We will resume with the defendant's statement," the judge announced. "Mr. Patel, your counsel informs the court you wish to address the charges directly." A strange hush fell. Ved stood. He didn't glance at Anna. He didn't look at Emily. He didn't even acknowledge his own brother. Instead, he stepped toward the microphone with a calmness that made the prosecutor stiffen. "Your Honor," Ved began, voice disturbingly steady, "I want the record to reflect that I am speaking voluntarily. No coercion, no agreements." The judge nodded. "Proceed if you understand the consequences." Ved's slight smile appeared, the same unsettling curl of the lips that had haunted Anna since the mall. "I do." The courtroom leaned forward collectively. Ved inhaled, exhaled, and then his mask cracked. "I never loved Anna." Anna's heart constricted, but she kept her face still. "I married her because she was useful." Ved continued coldly. "Stable job, predictable routines, clean financial history, a perfect foundation." Emily looked physically ill. Ved didn't pause. "I never planned to stay with Emily either. She was convenient. A new identity needs emotional cover. A wife, a child, a house in the suburbs. People trust you faster." Emily's trembling turned into quiet sobbing. Ved's tone didn't change. "I intended to vanish again. Same blueprint. Drain what I could, secure the offshore accounts, destroy the digital breadcrumbs, then disappear into a new name. Maybe overseas, maybe not." Anna's pulse hammered. 2 families, 2 lives. He would have walked away from both, but Ved wasn't finished. "Your evidence paints me as careless," he said, lifting his chin, "but the truth is, I was ahead of all of this, until something went wrong, something none of you have considered." The prosecutor narrowed his eyes, and what was that? Ved's fingers curled into fists. "I wasn't working alone." A ripple of shock surged across the courtroom. Anna felt the air leave her lungs. Emily's crying stopped abruptly. Even the judge leaned forward slightly. Ved continued, his voice turning sharper, darker. "You think I forged everything myself, managed every account, built every identity? No. Someone taught me how. Someone handed me the documents. Someone partnered with me." The prosecutor stepped closer to the podium. "Who?" Ved's smile widened. Haunting, triumphant. "You'll find out soon enough." The judge slammed her gavel once. "Mr. Patel, this is not a game. If you have information relevant to federal crimes, show them." Ved interrupted, eyes flicking toward the prosecutor. "Show them the footage from the marina. You've been saving it." A brief, tense hesitation. Then the prosecutor nodded to the tech operator. The courtroom lights dimmed. A large screen flickered to life. Surveillance footage, Port Towns and private marina. Date March 18, 3:17 a.m. 40 minutes before the Coast Guard claimed Ved's boat sank. Anna's breath caught as the familiar scene played out again. Ved's hooded figure stepping off the boat, glancing around, moving toward the shadowed edge of the docks. But then the footage zoomed out, and someone else appeared. A tall man, face obscured by a cap, walking 2 steps behind Ved, matching his pace, moving with precision, carrying a heavy black duffel. The man helped Ved lift a crate into the back of the truck. Both men climbed in. The truck drove away. The screen froze on a grainy close-up of the second man's profile. Whispers erupted in every corner of the courtroom. The prosecutor stepped forward again, voice low and controlled. This individual has not yet been identified, but records show his vehicle crossed state lines 4 times in the weeks leading up to Ved Patel's disappearance. We believe he acted as an accomplice. Ved leaned casually against the defense table, watching the chaos unfold with a faint look of satisfaction. Anna felt her skin prickle. He wanted this moment. He wanted everyone to know he hadn't acted alone. He wanted the fear. The prosecutor clicked to the next frame, showing the truck's license plate, partially visible, numbers distorted by fog and motion blur. Efforts to identify this man are ongoing. The prosecutor continued. We have contacted state authorities and federal partners to expedite. Ved cut him off again. You're too late. The courtroom turned to him. He smiled softly. He's already gone, and trust me, he's better at disappearing than I ever was. Anna's stomach twisted. If Ved was telling the truth, then someone out there had taught him everything. Someone who was still free. Someone who might have helped plan the insurance policies, the identities, the offshore accounts. Someone who wasn't finished. Before anyone could respond, the judge called a recess, her voice tight with urgency. As the bailiffs escorted Ved out, he turned his head ever so slightly toward Anna, just enough for her to see the satisfaction in his eyes. Then he whispered something only she could hear. He's coming for the rest. Anna froze. The courtroom doors slammed shut behind him, and the screen still showed the accomplice's blurred face, the man who helped Ved vanish. For a full minute, the courtroom stayed frozen, silent, breathless, as the grainy surveillance footage replayed on the overhead screen. The figure helping Ved load bags into the truck was tall, lean, moving with a strange familiarity. His face stayed hidden beneath the hood, but his posture, his stride, there was something eerily recognizable about it. Even Ved, shackled at the defense table, refused to look at the footage, his jaw locked, eyes fixed on the floor. The prosecutor stepped forward, his voice controlled but sharp. We initially believed this accomplice was a hired smuggler, someone paid for the night, someone disposable. He clicked the remote again. The footage zoomed in on the man's wrist as he lifted a duffel bag, a bracelet, simple, leather, worn. Anna inhaled sharply. She had seen that bracelet before, years ago, in old photos Ved kept locked away. It had belonged to a cousin he rarely spoke about, Arjun Mehta, missing 12 years, presumed dead. The courtroom doors seemed to shrink around her as the prosecutor continued. But DNA recovered from the abandoned truck told another story. The fingerprints don't match criminal databases, but they do match a dormant familial profile tied to one of our primary subjects. He turned to the jury. Ved's cousin, Arjun Mehta, is alive. Gasps swept through the gallery. Emily covered her mouth. Even Ved's attorney blinked in shock. The prosecutor shifted to the next slide. It wasn't footage this time. It was a network map, digital lines connecting offshore bank accounts, shell corporations, fake IDs, encrypted domains, and international money transfers. This, the prosecutor said, is a financial web spanning 12 years. At the center are 2 men, Ved Patel and Arjun Mehta. Over a decade, they built dozens of alternate identities, rotated through offshore accounts, and siphoned money from employers, partners, and spouses. Each disappearance was a trial run, each identity a rehearsal. Anna gripped the edge of the bench until her knuckles turned white. The evidence was overwhelming. Phone dumps recovered from Ved's Seattle home showed encrypted chats with a contact saved only as AM. Emails routed through dark web servers outlined Phase 3. Financial drafts revealed money transfers made from an account under Emily's name, without her knowing, and one file, dated 6 months before Ved's arrest, was named Future Exit Step 4. When the prosecutor clicked it open, a chill moved through the room. The document outlined a plan to stage a second accident, this time involving Emily. Ved had purchased a small boat under one of his fake identities. He had drafted a false Coast Guard report. He had even scouted locations along the Washington coast where bodies were rarely recovered. Emily sobbed quietly, trembling violently. Anna closed her eyes, swallowing the bitterness burning her throat. He hadn't just lied. He hadn't just betrayed them. He had been planning the next death all along. Then the prosecutor showed the part that made Emily collapse into her hands. Under final step, the document stated, Take the child, new identity, new country. Emily's entire body shook. She gasped for air as the reality crashed into her. Ved had planned to kill her, take their daughter, and disappear again, just as he had once done to Anna. Anna reached for Emily's arm before she could fall forward. For a rare moment, the two women shared a single understanding. Raw, wounded, and horrifying. They had both loved a man who never existed. 3 days later, the FBI called Anna in. She sat in a secured interview room, staring at a metal table, while agents entered with new documents. Their expressions were hardened, grim. Miss Patel, one of them said, "We located the accomplice." Anna blinked. "Arjun, yes, alive." A beat of silence settled before the agent continued. "He was found in a cabin outside Yakima. He surrendered without resisting. He's currently cooperating." Anna felt her pulse hammer at the base of her throat. "Is he dangerous?" she asked. The agent's expression darkened. "He's unstable. Years of hiding have taken a toll, but he's coherent enough to talk, and he's already started giving us information." He slid a transcript toward her. Arjun's words were printed on the page, shaky but legible. "Ved told me he could never go back to his first life. He said Anna was a liability. He said she had grown suspicious before the accident. He told me if she ever resurfaced, if she ever got too close, he'd handle it." Anna's blood ran cold. "Handle it?" The agent's voice softened. "There's more." He turned to the second page. Arjun had been rambling by this point, fearful, panicked. But one sentence was clear, underlined by the agents. Ved said Anna wasn't finished yet, that he didn't get his chance. She was supposed to be next. The room tilted. Anna gripped the table, her breath caught halfway between a gasp and a scream. Ved hadn't just abandoned her. He hadn't simply disappeared. He had planned her death. And according to Arjun's statement, he still wasn't done with her. The courtroom felt heavier on verdict day. Thicker with tension. Thicker with expectation. Reporters lined the hallways like vultures waiting for fresh carrion. Emily sat in the gallery, clutching a tissue, her fingers trembling. Anna entered quietly, her steps steady despite the storm churning inside her. She didn't come for revenge. She didn't come to witness his downfall. She came for closure. Ved was escorted into the courtroom wearing the same stale, emotionless mask he had held since the trial began. But beneath the fluorescent lights, Anna could finally see the cracks. Dark circles beneath his eyes, a faint twitch in his jaw, a stiffness in his shoulders. For the first time, he looked like a man cornered by reality, not the master of his own elaborate illusions. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The room sank into a suffocating silence. United States versus Ved Patel. The clerk read, "Verdict on counts 1 through 9. Anna felt her heartbeat sink with each word. Count 1, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Guilty. Count 2, aggravated identity theft. Guilty. Count 3, insurance fraud. Guilty. Count 4, bigamy. Guilty. Count 5, interstate evasion. Guilty. Count 6, falsifying maritime records. Guilty. Count 7, money laundering. Guilty. Count 8, conspiracy to commit fraud with accomplice. Guilty. Count 9, attempted financial exploitation of a minor. Guilty. Anna gripped the bench, her breath catching. Emily bowed her head, sobbing quietly. Ved didn't flinch. He stared straight ahead as if the words were a language he didn't recognize, irrelevant noise from a world he no longer belonged to. Given the severity of the crimes, the judge continued, "This court sentences the defendant to 45 years in federal custody, without the possibility of parole for the first 30. Gasps rippled through the room. Cameras clicked. Emily covered her face. Anna's eyes prickled, but she refused to cry. This wasn't a moment of sadness. It was liberation. Ved's shoulders stiffened as if only now understanding the weight of his new reality. For the first time his mask slipped, just a fraction. His eyes flickered with panic, then resentment, then a glimmer of that cold calculation Anna now recognized too well. The judge excused the court. As the room emptied, Anna stood frozen, unable to move until the last reporter left. Emily approached her, hesitated, then gently squeezed her hand before leaving with FBI victim advocate. Anna waited until the courthouse was nearly empty before asking a marshal for permission. "Just a minute," she whispered. "I need to speak to him." The marshal nodded and escorted her to a secure hallway behind the courtroom, a place where prisoners waited before transport. Ved sat on a metal bench, his hands cuffed, his ankles chained. Harsh fluorescent light carved deep shadows across his face. He looked up. For a moment they were alone. "Anna," he said with a strange softness, "you finally came." She stepped closer, but kept her distance. "I didn't come for you," she said. "I came for answers." One corner of his mouth curled. Not a smile, but something darker. "You already know the answers." "No," she snapped. "I know what you did. I want to know why." He leaned back, chains clinking. "Why do you think?" he asked as if amused. "Because love is a cage. Marriage is a cage. Emily, anyone. I was never meant to be tied down. I wanted freedom, real freedom." Anna's breath caught. Freedom to destroy people. Freedom from expectations. He corrected coldly, from responsibility, from the boring little life you wanted to build. His voice hardened. "You never understood me. You never saw who I really was." She stared at him, really looked at him, for the first time since he returned from the dead, and she realized something chilling. She never knew this man at all. He continued, voice low, unapologetic. "Money buys a clean slate. New names, new places, new lives. I wanted a life with no strings, no guilt, no obligations. You were just—" He shrugged. "A starting point." Anna felt something inside her finally break, not her heart that had shattered long ago, but the last thread that tethered her to the memory of him. She stepped back. "You didn't drown," she whispered, "but the man I loved did. A long time ago." He tilted his head. "And now?" "Now," she said, voice firm, "I'm done being haunted by a ghost." Without another word, she turned and walked out. Ved didn't call after her. He didn't fight. He simply watched her go. With empty eyes, like he was already fading into the background of a life he no longer controlled. 2 days later, Anna drove to the ocean, the same stretch of coastline where they once held hands, where she had screamed into the wind after his death, where she had come to bury her grief. The sky was gray, the waves restless. She walked barefoot across the cold sand, each step carrying a memory she no longer needed to keep. She stood at the water's edge, breathing in the salt, the wind, the freedom. This time, she didn't come to mourn a husband who betrayed her. She came to bury the memory of the man who never actually drowned. The sea rolled forward, touched her toes, and slowly receded, carrying the last trace of him away with it.